Hi, I'm starting out this video by saying that it may be a trigger for some of you, as I will be discussing my personal experiences with sexual abuse. With everything that's going around, and especially the bloody donkeys that ask, well, why wasn't it reported sooner? There's a reason, because many of us victims end up being abused further when we finally do discuss what happened to us. There are so many people that don't believe it, or even worse, well, maybe not worse. In addition, though, they may blame us for what happened to us. So, here's my story. Well, stories. When I was 9 or 10, it began for me. My biological half-brother started it all with a lie. He told me that my sister had shown him her chest before and asked me to do so because my big sister did it. Well, I thought she did it. I thought it was something normal, so I did it. And then things progressed more and more. I'm honestly not sure how far things ever went. I don't remember ever going the whole way. However, once upon a time, he made a comment to me that made me question my memory. So I really don't know. When I was 10, he taught me to be a drug whore. He taught me to trade myself for drugs and alcohol. Him and his friends were partying downstairs in the basement where his room was, and I wanted to join in. So he told me that I could if I did the things that we had done before, again for him. So that's when I learned, when I was 10 years old, from my brother that was 16, to trade myself. I didn't tell anybody until I was 18 because I felt guilty for it. I felt that it was my fault for not knowing better, even though I was 10 years old when it started, well, 9 or 10. And when I did finally learn how wrong it was, I stopped it. After I shared my experience with the guy I was with at a time, he was very compassionate, so it gave me the courage to tell more people. Some people were compassionate. One person in particular, our sister, she made excuses for him. She came up with reasons why he might have done it. Instead of being supportive of me, she was supportive of him. She said it was because she didn't know how to react. Either way, you shouldn't victimize the victim even more. I was subjected to seeing him at family events. My sister asked me if it was okay if he would go, and I didn't want to be the bad person that said no. So I'm not sure if it was the first event that I saw him at or not. I had said that if not, for him not to speak to me unless it was to say sorry, which of course he never did. And it just, his voice got to me so much. It was so devastating. And I ended up coming out to my cousins about what had happened. And one of my cousins didn't even believe me. She said, well, something along the lines of, well, if it even happened. Again, that's not something that should be said to a victim. I'm not sure if it was before or after the party. I'm thinking it was before. I had written my biological half-brother. I refer to him as that because just because he's blood doesn't mean he's family. I told him how he nearly destroyed my life, and his reaction was that he was sorry. And then he continued to say he was sorry that we couldn't do it anymore. That was when I was 18, and so he was 24. So he knew better. And I know for a fact that he knew better because of it all starting with a lie. Fast forward to when I was 14, I wasn't able to cope with living in my own personal hell on earth anymore. So I went to drugs and alcohol for help. Because of what my biological half-brother had taught me, I knew how I could get to drugs and alcohol at such a young age. I traded myself for them. And it was a very dangerous downward spiral. I was going to be in marching band, and during band camp, I decided not to go because I needed to drink instead. One of my boyfriends, when I was 14 or 15, one day we went to a hotel. I told him that I didn't want to have sexual relations that day, and he said that was fine. Eventually, when we got there though, he started to try stuff. I ended up physically fighting him because I didn't want to do it. Finally, because I was worried about what it would end up becoming for the physical fight and how I would get home, I caved and I said, okay, we can do it as long as I can hit the pipe first. He was so proud of his little pothead. He even said that. So for years I lived with that guilt as well. To this day, I don't know if that was technically rape or not, because I eventually agreed. However, I agreed just for my survival. So, yeah, I've discussed these things finally, years later. However, for a long time I didn't because of my guilt of what I did wrong, when really, I did nothing wrong. It was my abusers. So everybody that is asking, why didn't she report it sooner? You need to be asking instead, why these people felt that they had the right to abuse other people. It's just devastating, and sharing it can be even more devastating because of how much some people dismiss the victims, us victims, and how they defend the attackers instead of the victims. It's just a very, very difficult thing to share. And besides even the continued abuse from other people that are being judgmental, hypocritical donkeys, reliving the devastation that one experienced is traumatic in itself, and it's something that should be supported and not looked down upon.